And good evening and welcome to Impact 2022. I'm glad that you are here with us this evening. Um, our normal host, Nathaniel Watkins, is not with us this evening, but I ask that you would just be in prayer with him. And I'm Kenneth Watkins and Pastor Watkins here at Imani Christian Ministries. And so I'm filling in for Nathaniel, and I'm glad to have you, and hope that this will be an impactful evening for some of you. I'm not gonna be long, but I want to raise some issues that have been going on in our world. Impact 2022 is basically an opportunity for us to discuss the issues of today, what's going on in the world today, what's happening in the world today, and we want to talk about it from a Christian perspective, And so, my hope is that this can be a lively discussion. We give you opportunity to put in your comments and questions, and we do share them. And we, if you have some questions, we will try to answer them. If you have a comment that we need, that needs that we need to kind of clarify, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. All right. And so we're so glad again that you are with us this afternoon, this evening. As you know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on all over the country. There's a lot of issues that we are dealing with as a nation, and a lot of issues that we are dealing with even as the church. One of the major issues, and I know that they're going to be discussing it even more, but a major issue that I am very concerned with is the state of the church. And when I talk about the state of the church, I'm talking about the state of the church in relationship to the fact that when you think about, we've gone through this COVID thing, and a lot of people now they do church in relationship to going online and seeing on Facebook and Zoom and all these different things. And that's one issue that has been plaguing the church. But another issue that has been plaguing the church is that people who used to attend church now find that they feel that they don't have to do that anymore. As a matter of fact, not only do they feel they don't have to do that anymore, go to church anymore, but they also feel that sometimes they kind of feel that they don't have to go to church. They don't have to, fellowship with other folk. And then they got this thing where they can go to different churches because they can see it online and all of that. And all that sounds good and all that sounds fine. But there's an issue there. Then there are those who feel that the church is not relevant. Well, that has been going on since time. That the church has not been relevant. But I think the church is still very relevant. And then there are those who that the problem that we have is that we have a generation now that's coming along who they just don't do church. And again, so those things are those are problems that we're having. And so you see the numbers in churches nowadays are really down. They're really down. And I think that's something that we need to kind of wrestle with and figure out what can we do, or what should we do, or is there anything we can do to bring back people back to the fold, back to church. And I'm not talking about just looking at it on Facebook or YouTube. I'm talking about back to church and being church and doing church. I see Nathaniel has joined us. How you do, sir?
Doing good.
I can't hear you.
Doing good. You still can't hear?
Can't hear you, Nathaniel. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but there's no can't hear the sound. But hopefully the people can hear it. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
I can hear you perfectly fine.
Right. So Nathaniel, what you think? What do you think about this whole thing about church? And then I'm gonna let you take it. I'm gonna move on out and let you take it. But what do you think? And I know you probably got some things you want to talk about also. But just that issue about church, what do you think?
Yep, it's an interesting issue, and that's that's right there at the topic we're jumping into. Um, and there's a bunch of different things when it comes to why young people aren't getting into church. From my standpoint and from my generation, and so I'm the 40 and the 40 plus. So I guess the 30 to 50 range. My group and my generation. A lot of us, the reason that not that we don't or that we don't go to church or my group is that we didn't have that same requirement from our parents to go to church. Um, and unfortunately that's ingrained in some of them, so they don't have that foundation that some of the previous generations had. Me and a lot of my friends, we went to church since we were young kids, and so when we became adults, that's when we had the decision to make of, do we want to continue to go to church? Do we believe in God? Do we believe in everything that we've been a part of our as our children years and our youthful years, or are we not? And so we had to be able to make a determination. Nowadays, well, there's another group of people nowadays and my generation who never started with church in the beginning. And so when they became of age, 18, 20, when they left the house, they still had that same question of, am I going to believe in God, go to church? Am I going to participate? Uh, but they didn't have any background. They didn't have a decision to make as far as an informed decision. There was no, well, I know that this is over here and this is over here. They only know one thing, and that's not going to church because their parents never forced them or encouraged them or pushed them and made them. Even parents, who had decided that they weren't going to go to church or they didn't believe in God or they weren't going to participate, they would still send their kids. And so um, that occurrence or that lack thereof of occurrence in my starting with my generations as we grew up and going forward is one of the reasons that people don't have that foundation to make a decision about church. And so I think that's probably one of the bigger or biggest problems. And then then it goes into the fact of, all right, you didn't grow up in the church, you didn't have it when you were young. Um, Now that you are of age to make your own decisions, now why aren't you going? So it's the twofold. The first part that I address is very simple. Do what they used to do. Send your kids to church. Even if you don't believe in God, send your kids to church. If you do believe in God, send your kids to church. If you're going to go to church, have them come with you. If you're not going to go to church, send them to church. It to me, it's like sports. Where you got these parents, these young people, they're like, well, I'm not going to force my kid. I'm gonna let them choose to do if they want to go to church or not. Well, that's silly. My son, he played baseball. He didn't have a choice of whether or not he wanted to play baseball. I casually asked him, but the reality of the matter is, I said, you're going to play for you, because you can't even make an intelligent decision about whether or not you like baseball or not if you've never done it, if you've never participated in it. And I'm going to force you to do some things so that you're informed, so that when you become of age, you can make an informed decision. It's like schooling. Um, every kid is legally required to go to school. Then when they turn of legal age, 18, they can decide whether or not they want to continue school or not. And so for me, as parents, as whether you believe in God or not, as parents, whether you go to church or not, you have a requirement, I believe, to let your child be informed about God, about Christ, about religion. Um, Send your child to church, and then when they become an adult, they can make a decision. They're going to be older way longer than they're going to be, and so I look and I say, well, if I have to force my child to do something that they really don't want to do for 18 years, and my child lives to be 70, that means they still have 52 years to do whatever they want to do. So I'm not really concerned about those 18 couple of years where they might be a little bit grumpy. And so I think that's the first problem. That's the first problem. And so and that's an easy fixable one, and that's just send your kids to where they need to go so that they can get the instruction and make the decisions that they need to make. But the second one then is, once you become grown, once you become of age, and once you're able to make those decisions, Does the church have what you want? Um, are we offering up the faith and the religion in the manner that makes you choose to continue to go to church? Because there's plenty of people. The recent studies and the recent surveys showed that there has been a drop in the number of people in the United States who believe in God. The numbers went from 90%, 95% to like 90%. So as much as we want to sit back and be like, well, people aren't believing in God now, unless they're just all lying on the surveys. It's still a 90% belief in God, which just means that there's not a 90% belief in going to the church. Um, there are people who are going on their own path. They call themselves spiritual, or they call themselves these other things. And it may be because the church is not providing what they need. They're not providing that connection to God. They're not providing that connection to one another in relationships with other people of the faith, or they're not providing opportunities to grow their faith, or they're not providing what most of us want is love for one another, for our fellow man and woman in this world. And so, yeah, I think a lot of times that's why people are not coming to church, young people, especially when they have that opportunity to make that decision. And then I'll say one other thing, and this is, and if you've been here before, you know that this is one of the things that I say all the time. Uh, the narrative for Christ or Christian churches, the narratives about Christ and the narratives about Christian churches is wrong, because we're letting people who have wrong ideas develop the narrative, and let people, we let them say, well, the church is about this, or the church is about that, and the church is not about this, and the church is not about that, or this big abortion fight that we're having right now. You have people who say, well, the church is stance on abortion is this. Nah, no. What are you talking about? That's not in the Bible. What do you, or they say, well, in order to, the church is Republican. No, that's not the case either. Or the church is conservative. There's different things. Or they say, well, when you go to the church, it's about making money and blah 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 and being blessed. Like, nah, that's not it either. And so we have allowed other people to put out this false narrative, which has turned a lot of young people off. They think the church is something that it's not. They see the fashion shows in some of the churches. They see some of the extreme ministries, um, who really aren't about anything other than money making endeavors. And so we have to control the narrative. We haven't been able. Those of us who truly believe in the Bible, reading the Bible, following the Word, following what it says in the Bible, and are not trying to make our own um, religion to tailor to our needs. We have to control the narrative more, and let people know, like, what you see on TV is not what it is. When people say we are this and we are that, no, come and see what we really are. Um, and so I think that a lot of people are getting fooled, tricked, duped, run amok, whatever word you want to say, when it comes to the faith. And so, over the last couple of weeks, what I've been doing is, well, I can't even say the last couple of weeks, but over time, what I've been doing is I've been talking to some folk. Unfortunately, some of them couldn't come and join us today, but talking to them about this issue, about church, about um, you know, not their personal desires to come to church, and the desires of young people to come in as well. And so that is a theme and a topic that we are looking to discuss, and we're going to discuss it um, in different ways and different manners. One, is it necessary? Because there's a group who believe that they walk the right path on their own, they can still get to the same place that they need to go. And so if their religious path only is a path of one, then they're okay. They don't need the church. They believe that they can do it on their own. Um, they believe that they are the equivalent of the traveling apostle, who doesn't have to have a church home, and they can just go from here to there, just walk on their own, and read the Bible on their own, and understand on their own. And so that's a discussion that we need to have. Is that really truly a way? Because the same way that I sit here and say that people are getting the narrative wrong, they believe that same thing. And they believe that if they go on their own path, then Some of them believe that if they go their own path, then they control the whole narrative. All of the negative things that they see in church that they think are bad, they don't have to participate in because they're doing it on their own. So that's one of the discussions is church necessary? Do you have to be a part of a church to be a part of the faith? Do you need the church? Is church an antiquated idea that we need to go somewhere differently and do something different? So that's one of the conversations. The second one is primarily just right to the point of what do we need to do to make sure that young people understand the importance of church if we think that it is. And so that's the goal, to kind of look at this from multiple fronts, and put this into a perspective of what are some of the solutions that we need to come to, or conclusions that we need to come to when it comes to the church, young people in the church, and basically what we're talking about is the future of the church. Because as we all get older, if younger people don't continue on, then there will be no more church. That's a little bit extreme, but hey, that's the reality of the matter. Churches are getting smaller. COVID hit us hard. And so when we're sitting here and we got people in technology and everything like that, hey, where's the church? You know, probably a couple of months ago, we talked about the future of the church, and we talked about the fact that there's some other things out there. There's the metaverse, and what we're going to have to do is establish churches on the metaverse. Wherever these people are going, wherever people are going, wherever people are going in general, we have to go as well. And so if we got young people who are going onto the metaverse, and for those of you who don't know exactly what that is um, concept of having an alternate universe based on virtual reality. So you put on your VR headset, or you just go onto your computer and you basically live, breathe, play in this virtual space. And if people are going to spend large amounts of time there, then they need to have a virtual church in that virtual space. And as uncomfortable and as weird and as creepy as that may sound to some people, it sounds exciting and great to the others. I know I know of a young lady who just made a presentation to me in a group of other people about the metaverse is the way to go. Let's meet on the metaverse. Let's vacation on the metaverse. Let's do all of this. She had a full excitement for it. Me, I rolled my eyes like, it's crazy, but at the same time, we have a responsibility to go wherever people are. And so, when we have that conversation as well about what we need to do to get people, to make sure that young people are still interested in the church and what we're doing, then it comes to where do we have to go to get them? What do we have to do to get them, without sacrificing who we are? Holding raffles where we're giving away cars and televisions that are not who we are. So let's be clear that I'm not saying that, but we'll have that conversation because some people do believe that. And so just like any other conversation that we have, we always want to encourage these comments and encourage these opinions and encourage people to put in as well. It's going to be necessary in this conversation that not just us and the guests that are talking put in their input, but everyone who may be listening. And I encourage you to get other people on as well. If anybody wants to join in this conversation, whether it be through the comments section, as you always know, or whether it is through actually being on the program, you can contact us, Imani Christian Ministries. Of course, you can always contact us at the phone number, or you can contact us in the comments, and let us know, because we really need to delve into this issue. One more thing, and because most of this is just kind of an advertisement for what we're doing in the future. But one more thing, the reason that this is important to this particular program, and this particular program has started out of COVID, started out of some of the social injustice activities that occurred. This program started out of that. What's important is the understanding that the church has always been pivotal in the fight for social justice. Social change has been in the fight for equal rights. And so as people, young people, older people, everyone as we move in our society to different levels of trying to protect people's rights, different levels of trying to get people rights, um, we have to remember that the church has always been a leader in that. And so that's why this is an important conversation. Because the reality of the matter is, if the church is not going to be a leader in that, and the church is not going to be a part of that, and the church is not going to be here to push for rights, I don't know if we will continue to have the ability to preserve and to grant people the rights that they want, need, and have. You know, I very much believe that two of the larger movements, women's rights and the rights of minorities, particularly African Americans, came on the backs of the church, of Christian men and women, religious men and women, because I don't want to slight some of the other religions who put in the work as well. But those people who are willing to sacrifice today, sacrifice here and now, because they know that this earthly vessel isn't the only one. And that sort of sacrifice you don't get from other groups. And so that those people, that kind of sacrifice is what you get from the church, what you get from religion. And if we are going to talk about social justice, talk about social change, we will always need the church, I believe, to lead that. We're not the leaders right now necessarily in these fights, but we're still there. And the change doesn't come the same way if it doesn't come from those who believe in God. All right. So that basically was our super long infomercial, our commercial for what is to come. I'm excited for it, and I hope that you're excited for it. I hope that you will participate as our guests come on and we talk and wrestle with this issue. And please feel free to comment. And again, feel free to contact us if you would like to be a part of this program. Again, my name is Nathaniel. This has been Impact 2022. Thank Pastor Watkins for starting us off and getting it going. And again, thank you always. We will be here again Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Have a great one and have a good night.